Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our next business success webinar. Today, we'll go ahead and focus on PPP. But before then, we'll go ahead and go over some brief housekeeping rules with you. Just going through some things here. If your mic is on, I would really appreciate it if you go ahead and turn it off out of respect for our attendees and our speaker today. Also, if you have any questions, we'll go ahead and be answering all the questions that come in through our chat box. So make sure you enter them in. I'll be on the lookout for them as well. And this session is being recorded. So if you happen to miss something during the presentation, we'll go ahead and send it to you in including our post-event survey. So please let us know your feedback. We really appreciate it. And as we begin, I also encourage you all to use the chat feature to include your contact information. Just a nice little way of networking now that everything has turned virtual. But with that, I will go ahead and transition it over to Jamie Flores. He is the co-founder of Blue Acorn, a platform that has helped organizations with the PPP process. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop sharing, Jimmy, and you could go ahead and take it from there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for being here, for me to be able to talk more about the PPP program and what we do and how we've helped thousands of businesses around the country within a short amount of time, essentially not only just navigate through this program, but also successfully fund many various loans and also loans that turn into grants, which we'll be talking about what exactly that means today. And a little bit, of the technicalities, but more so on just building the confidence so that you know that this is a safe program for you if you qualify, and how you can do it on your own, or you can do it with the CPA or your lender or with Blue Acorn, which we do it for free for you. So I'm going to go ahead. It says that I'm disabled for screen sharing. If you can undisable that, Elizabeth, please.
All right, give me one moment.
No worries. I see a lot of familiar faces here, so this is going to be really exciting. Perfect.
Hey, Jimmy,
All right.
Good to see you, Jimmy.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too. Can you guys all see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So, sorry. Let me move this around a bit. Let's see. All right. All right. So, Blue Acorn, this is a presentation about navigating the Paycheck Protection Program process. Again, my name is Jimmy Flores, and I'm the co-founder of Blue Acorn. However, a little bit more about me. I actually didn't start in this industry. I started in the opportunity zones industry about 5 years ago. And the whole point of opportunity zones was to essentially drive investments into low-income communities across the country through a tax incentive program that was designed to help lower income communities or communities that are distressed in rural areas or in downtown areas. Maybe we know of a few around Phoenix that can need some investment, but this tax incentive was essentially created to drive capital gains that have been realized from selling real estate or selling stocks or cryptocurrency, a business, and essentially investing those gains into businesses, new businesses, or real estate developments that will improve the communities long term. So I help serve the underserved. And so when this whole post-COVID catastrophe happened, I was going through the process of the economic injury disaster loan and through the Paycheck Protection Program. And I started realizing with a few other of my partners that this is a complicated process. There's no way that lenders or that a lot of these other financial institutions were gonna essentially help as many people as they could within a short period of time, and there needed to be a more efficient solution. So we created Blue Acorn with a team of about 40 different volunteers and individuals, 15 software developers, a lot of local individuals here, even partnered early on with the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we essentially launched this platform to automate or as close to automation as possible individuals or small businesses Paycheck Protection Program applications. And we partnered with lenders and we partnered with other organizations to essentially go, hey, we'll take the load off of you for applying for this program, and you just need to accept our applications and move forward with accepting these people's loans and giving them the money that they needed within a short period of time. Through all of our trials and tribulations and about 3 to 4 months of a lot of different hassles with every aspect of the industry, we successfully processed I would probably say about 5,000 to 7,000 applications nationwide, and nearly $100 million in loans, which is a significant feat. So what is PPP? I said a lot of information about certain terms and how I got into this area. So PPP is the Paycheck Protection Program. This is a piece of legislation that was an emergency response to the post-COVID world, where the economy was shutting down globally, and we were required to stay in, and businesses were required to not be operatable. So the government went ahead and passed the CARES Act, which essentially helped people get the stimulus checks in the bank, and then also helped businesses get monies so that they can go ahead and rehire employees and essentially have a little bit of float money so that they can withstand this whole shutdown during this period of time. The legislation passed in, I believe, March or April, and I can't exactly remember the date, but it essentially dedicated monies for small businesses to get a short-term loan from the SBA, but this loan would turn into a grant, which essentially means free money for businesses if they met certain criteria or certain conditions and guidelines. So back in March, April, the original amount that was passed for small businesses was roughly around, I believe, $500 billion or a little bit more. I'm sorry. The first round was $351 billion. And that was supposed to last until June. That lasted about 3 weeks. And you can only imagine everyone and their mom calling their lender, overloading the phones. The banks weren't even open. They weren't accepting any walk-ins. They didn't have the phone capabilities to accept calls. So there was a big commotion on people getting this monies. However, the money ran out pretty fast, and a lot of small businesses, especially minority-owned businesses, were left behind. The ones that didn't have a relationship with their lender, the ones that didn't have the capabilities to go ahead and get on top of that line because of a lack of information, a lack of awareness, or whatever that may be. So Congress went ahead and passed a second round of monies for this program, and also dedicated monies for minority-owned businesses or for low-income areas that needed this money. And during that round is where our organization, or a lot of different organizations, shined to go ahead and help small businesses get this type of money. That money didn't run out as fast as the first time. However, there was a lot of speculation as to, is this really a real program? Will this money really be forgiven? Or will I actually qualify for forgiveness? All these different questions. because you started seeing in the news that, you know, other businesses were paying the money back because they were too overqualified, or a lot of different speculation on the program. So a recent legislation passed to extend the deadline for people to go ahead and put monies into the or to qualify for the program, and they also made forgiveness a lot easier. And I'm not going to go into forgiveness a little bit right now, because forgiveness is a little bit more of a, not necessarily complication, but they're evolving forgiveness as they go on in a positive manner. But essentially, forgiveness was based upon how much you paid in payroll or how much you paid in utilities or rents. You had to track that information, and there was percentages involved. And the lender, the people that were giving you the money, were required to essentially handle that part. However, it's looking to get a lot easier, and I'll talk about that in a second. So now the future of PPP is more money is looking to be allocated to small minority-owned businesses, and we're looking to get an extended deadline. Right now, it's August 8th, which today is the 5th, I believe. So you have 3 more days to apply, if you haven't already. But the new extended date is looking to be December 31st. So that's positive news. We don't know this for sure, but it's looking like a bipartisan agreement to go ahead and extend that date, and that law should be passing before the 8th. So that's really positive news. Okay, sorry. All right, so who qualifies for PPP? So technically, a small business, as per these SBA guidelines, qualifies for PPP. Now, what is a small business? It's under 500 employees. You have to have a certain amount of revenues that make you a small business that qualifies, and it's per entity. It's not necessarily per family group of businesses. So what I mean by entities, let's say that you have 4 shops, restaurants around the valley. Now, it's not the main company that's applying for the PPP. It's the 4 individual companies that are applying for PPP. Let's say you broke it down by LLCs, or you maybe have some partners in another one, or you only solely own one restaurant yourself and other ones own the others in a certain manner. The way that you structured your entities matter when you're applying for PPP. And you have to make that very clear, because you have a differential in how you do your taxes per PPP, or per PPP application, and also per entity that you are applying for, because there are tax form requirements when submitting for the application, which if you haven't done your taxes yet, that's okay. You just need to make sure you have those tax files on hand, even if you haven't done them yet, so you can submit it with your application and they can review the information that you have essentially submitted with them. Independent contractors can also apply. These are people that have earned a 1099, or that, let's say, are a real estate agent or are a professional licensed person. Maybe they're a subcontractor and they work for tips at your business. Those people can apply individually. And as long as they make under $100,000, they can go ahead and earn or get a loan of up to $20,000 for themselves, as long as they can prove that they made that income. So it's a small business under 500 employees. It's entity based. It's broken down per individual organization that you're applying for. So if you have 4 restaurants under one umbrella, you're applying for 4 different PPPs for each restaurant. And if you have independent contractors that are working in your restaurant, unfortunately, you can't put them under your qualifications for the business, which means that you're essentially applying based upon your payroll that you have recorded in your restaurant. Let's say you have 10 full-time employees, 4 small part-time employees, and 5 contractors. You're only applying for the 10 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees as well. You're not applying for the 5 independent contractors that are working for you. And I'll break down exactly what that means when we talk about the application itself. But the 5 independent contractors can apply on their own, and they essentially will go ahead and get monies for surviving essentially during this pandemic, versus you having to get the monies and then give it to them as part of their requirements for forgiveness. So, and like I said, please, if you have any questions, ask them at the end, and I can go into more detail on exactly how that's broken down. But yeah, independent contractors are definitely qualified to do it, do the PPP program, and we actually have done a majority of our applications as independent contractors because they need a lot of help. So features and benefits of this program. So like I said earlier, it's a loan. It's a loan. Originally, it was a 2 to 3 year term at 1%, and essentially at the end of the term, it's a balloon payment that you have to pay all, the whole money up front if you haven't qualified for forgiveness. The payments aren't due or payable until year 2, and with the new legislation, they've actually extended this loan and for 5 years, and I believe they kept the rate the same at 1%. However, it is forgivable. So if you go ahead and qualify or meet the conditions for forgiveness, it turns into and that's supposed to say non-recourse, not non-resource. So I apologize for that. It does turn into a forgivable loan. And again, non-recourse means that you are not necessarily on the hook for this loan, nor your business. You don't have to put up collateral. They're not going to check your credit. They're not really going to go into detail of who you are or what your business is. Just as long as you submit the right documents and the lender verifies who you are and yes, this information matches, then the SBA gives the lender a number, which then they go ahead and process your loan and deposit the cash pretty fast. That loan is essentially supposed to be allocated towards payroll, utilities, rent payments, and other specific allocations for your business. However, a majority of that money needs to go to payroll. If you pay yourself out of the business, that's beneficial to you. If you don't, then then the money needs to go to the employees that you're paying towards. And that's verified through when you're going through forgiveness, bank statements or proof of payroll and all these other proofs that you can submit to the lender or SBA when you're applying for forgiveness. However, if you want it just as a loan and you don't want full forgiveness, then you can go ahead and use the monies for whatever you'd like, as long as you pay the monies back within the agreed amount of time. And the last best part of this PPP program is how fast you get the cash, and it's a direct deposit. So I think that's on the next. No, it isn't. But you get the cash pretty fast. Let's say that you apply for the program, and it takes you, let's say, about a day or two, or however you want to do it through your accountant or your lender, or if it's through us, we can do it within minutes. From the time you apply to the time the lender will then approve and give you the SBA number, which it should be within 24 to 48 hours. And then from there, you should receive your monies within 72 hours. So it's an extremely quick turnaround for you to get cash for your business. And it was designed that way because a lot of businesses are on the cusp of possible bankruptcy because of not having cash flow. So it is fast cash, and it is directly deposited in your account. Like I said earlier, terms and conditions, 3 to 5 year terms, 1% interest paid starting year 2, and it is 100% forgiveness if certain conditions are met, which I can discuss a little bit later. The process. So as I said earlier, the process of applying for PPP can be really hard or really easy, depending on who you apply it with, and how prepared you are, and how much education you were given throughout the process. So early on, when people were applying directly to their lender, it was really hard to access their lender. And when they did access their lender, they weren't prepared to give the right documents to the lender, essentially tax forms or payroll reports or whatever that may be, which then slowed down the whole process for those people and also for the lender. However, now that we've essentially learned more about this program and what it means to apply and what the stopgaps were during that time, we've essentially everyone in the industry has mastered this program to where that turnaround is really fast now, so people can get their money pretty quick. So it is an application from the SBA that you have to fill out and submit to them. It's one basic application, but on that application, it tells you exactly what documents you need to give to the lender or to the agent that's representing you to the lender, which, by the way, Blue Acorn acts as the agent, where we have a group of lenders that we submit documents to on your behalf. And you don't ever have to pay an agent. It's actually against the law to pay an agent. The lender is required to pay the agent per the SBA guidelines. And that monies do not come out of your loan. The monies come out of the SBA pays the agents directly. So nothing out of your pocket. It's just all for you. And the tax documents depend on the entity type. It's pretty easy though. I'll tell you this. For a 1099 individual, that's an independent contractor, you really only need one tax document, which is the 1040 Schedule C, and that is for year 2019. And you can have that filled out already from your tax preparer, or you cannot have it prepared yet. But as long as you have that form filled out when you submit it to the SBA or to the lender, that's really all what they need. They don't even need it to be filed yet. They just need that form with the information that you filled out on there. For, let's say, a business that's an LLC, you need what's called a Form 940 or 941, which is your annual wages paid out that, let's say, specific quarter or specific year to all your employees. And typically that's filled out, let's say, once a quarter or once a year. So it's a very simple form. And like I said earlier, you don't have to have it filed. You just have to have that form handy. And if you haven't filed it yet, then you just need to fill it out. It can be filled out by your tax preparer, or you can fill it out yourself. It's really up to you. And then bank statements, proof of business, ID verification, and more. So bank statements, that's just typically a bank report. Let's say if you're an individual, an independent contractor, that can come from your personal bank account. Sometimes we ask for only 1 month, which is February, let's say, of 2020, or we might ask for 3 to 4 months, depending on the lender that we're applying with. I know it's kind of ridiculous that there isn't a standard for every single lender, but each lender has their unique requirements and circumstances of a qualifying you. Proof of business is essentially like your articles of incorporation, or your payroll report that you have with your employees, and you can get that, let's say, if you use ADP or if you use QuickBooks. That's a form that you can easily just print off and submit, either for the whole year of 2019, or if you're a new business for 2020. An ID verification is just your driver's license or a passport or whatever you can give to us that verifies that you are who you say you are. Okay, so timeline. Like I said earlier, August 8th is the last deadline for this particular phase of PPP. And that was extended from June 30th. That was supposed to be the last date on the original PPP deadline, but they extended it to August 8th. However, we do expect an extension of the program coming up in the next few days from Congress to be December 31st, which would be huge, because not only will Congress extend the date until December 31st, but they're also going to allocate more dollars towards minority-owned businesses in underserved areas, which is our specialty at Blue Acorn. And like I said earlier, it's a 48 to 72 hour turnaround after submission of your application, and forgiveness can start being applied within 8 to 24 weeks, which is a pretty short amount of time. However, like I said, I'm going to go into forgiveness a little bit more in the next few slides, because forgiveness is looking to get easier and better for you. So forgiveness. Let's say that you applied and you received your monies and you're tracking all of your expenses during this time, so you can qualify for forgiveness. The original legislation for forgiveness was 75% allocation to payroll, and the rest of the 25% allocation to, let's say, your utilities, rents, anything else. And you had to do all of these extensive trackings of dollars. Some people were making new bank accounts. Some people were, they were keeping a hard ledger. Banks were really getting on top of this forgiveness because they had incentives to to have had businesses get forgiven, so the loans will be off their books. So there is a lot of mixed best practices for forgiveness. However, with new legislation, Congress made it easier for people to get forgiven, or they made the requirements less of a hassle for forgiveness. So on the first tranche, it was 75-25. On the second tranche, it was 60% towards payroll and 40% to utilities, rents, and other miscellaneous items. Now on the recent tranche that's looking to be released, they're talking about a complete blanket forgiveness of businesses who have received loans of up to $150,000. What does that mean? That means that if you got qualified for a $100,000 PPP loan, you're automatically just getting a $100,000 grant without having to do forgiveness. So that's why best practices for forgiveness is really just kind of on the edge right now, because banks haven't even processed forgiveness yet. Everyone's kind of waiting for the final piece of legislation for forgiveness. The people who have to worry more about forgiveness are the people that got over $150,000 in loans, where that's still going to be on the second tranche of the 60-40 split, and making sure to track your expenses and getting those monies allocated to the right people that need to be getting that money. However, for a majority of applicants under $150,000, they're looking to make forgiveness almost a blanket forgiveness, to where you're not going to have to really do anything. And as long as you show that you're in business still, and that you are doing business out of good faith, which is signing a document saying, yes, I'm doing business out of good faith, then that will be your forgiveness. We have been lobbying hardcore for that, because forgiveness has been one of the more trickier components of this whole program, and a lot of businesses need forgiveness because they can't really afford the balloon payment, in the next 3 years. So forgiveness is tricky. We handle forgiveness at Blue Acorn, and also we help lenders handle forgiveness with you. So on our technology platform, you have essentially a back end that will show you what you need to do for forgiveness and how you can do it. However, if you have received a loan under $150,000, forgiveness might be as simple as a signature, and that's that. So look out for that piece of legislation in the next 3 days, because if you already have a PPP loan under $150,000, then that'll be a huge monkey off your back. Trust me. So what to do next? If you haven't applied yet, consider applying if you're qualified. Are you a small business? Are you, do you need the monies for your payroll? Have you filed your taxes yet? Have you not? I mean, there's a lot, the qualifications aren't as extraneous as, let's say, getting a normal loan, but I would probably say every single person on this webinar, it will be qualified for PPP. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't applied yet, please apply. Even if it's not through us, I mean, go to your CPA, go to your lender, and go to us. I mean, we have the easiest and best platform for applying for PPP. Our application, our web application, is super simple. It's bilingual, so it is in Spanish, and not just Spanish, like light Spanish. We have heavy Spanish throughout the whole application process, so it's pretty cool. And if you do qualify, you are going to apply, if it's with us or whoever, make sure to have the tax documents prepared, which I mentioned a few earlier, like the Schedule C and the 940. But on our platform, at least, we will have everything ready for you to go, okay, on step 10, this is what the form we need for you to upload, and this is how you can find it, and this is where you can find it, and this is how you can fill it out. So we've made it extremely simple, almost Fisher Price, for someone to apply and really process it through. And this is less for us, more for you, because at the end of the day, we really care about helping our local community, especially the underserved. And a lot of banks and lenders, unfortunately, overlooked the underserved because of all of the demand that was being pushed to them. So with us focusing on the underserved is essentially where we found our success, because a lot of people needed help. So we made it super simple, and we make these applications perfect just for you, so that lenders will accept them on the very first time. because a lot of issues with lenders is, if they're working with smaller loan amounts, and I hate to say this, but they're less incentivized to work with you because they have bigger loan amounts to work with. And with the smaller loan amounts, it's typically a little bit harder to work with those because there's a lot more, I guess, uncertainty or not necessarily, they're not prepared with these tax documents and all the other requirements that they have. So what we have done is we've made it super simple. We've taken a lot of the customer service off the backs of lenders, and we provide all the information that they need to whoever is going to apply for a loan. And we make it very easy, simple, and hassle-free for someone to apply through us, which then we take this perfect application the very first time and give it to the lender, which is why lenders love working with us. So get your tax documents prepared. If you're going to go work with us, then we can handle that, and then we process it through. So if you want to apply, if you haven't yet, please consider applying. And also for people that have already applied on the new tranche of legislation, they are considering to do a second round of PPP for people that have already applied. However, it's looking to be not exactly 100% forgiveness. It's going to be more of a 50% forgiveness split. And then the second half of the loan that you will get from the SBA will be very favorable terms as a loan. So watch out for that if you have applied for PPP. That should be very exciting since it's been another essentially 3 months since the first tranche, and I know a lot of businesses that haven't been open yet. So if you're one of those, then watch out for that. That should be exciting. So if you have any questions, this is where I'll open up the mic for everyone. And if you need to reach out to me, my email is on the screen, or just go to our website and you can navigate through that and enjoy our experience. So.
Jimmy, this is Izzy. How are you, sir?
Hey, Izzy, how you doing?
Good. First and foremost, you look great, man. I'm so happy to see you because I know what you went through was not easy, and so my hat's off to you. You look like nothing. You didn't go through anything. You really look good. So.
Man, come on. I thought we were keeping that a secret, Izzy.
Yeah, right. You kept it a secret? I don't think so. You were on every channel. What are you talking about?
I know. If you guys don't know, Izzy's talking about is I got COVID pretty hard, so I was in the hospital for 8 days, and I went public with it. And because I went public with it on Facebook, it went viral. So 50 news stations locally, nationally, and internationally reached out and interviewed me. So I was on Telemundo, Univision, CNN, BBC, and all these other stations talking about my COVID experience and how I went through it. So
yeah,
thanks for reminding me, Izzy.
I'm the first one to ask for your autograph. Okay, after all that.
Oh man, thank you.
Hey, no, really, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. I know that you're pretty busy with Blue Acorn, and very in the very beginning we decided when you came to us, we decided that you would be a really good source for us to send clients that didn't know how to prepare their documents. So I appreciate that. What was the number that you mentioned earlier as far as how many have applied, and how many dollars?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, geez, tens of thousands have applied, but I think we've processed like 5 to 7,000, and we have in our pipeline. I mean, probably even over $100 million in loans.
Wow.
So we've done a significant job with helping underserved business, and majority of them are underserved businesses, women owned, veteran owned, minority owned, and this is around the country. So this is not just in Arizona.
Again, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Jimmy, we've gotten 2 questions. The
Sure.
first one, can application documents be sent to you by fax? And if so, what is your fax number?
So no, the way that we accept application documents is literally through our portal, blueacorn.co. And if you have already an application ready to go, then you would just create an account and then upload it onto that platform. However, our wizard is so great that you may just click, and then fill out some information, and your application is done. then you just have to upload your tax documents and proof of income and proof and ID proof. So it's all through the web. We try to make it as paperless and as seamless as possible, so that it can really be efficient for the lenders that are accepting these applications.
Great. Another question that we got, if a partnership LLC does not treat themselves as employees, W-2s, and pay themselves owner draws, what tax form will they need to be prepared to submit?
If you're a partner and you're not paying yourself as a W-4, right, or a W-2, then if you have employees, you have to go about your 940 tax form for your employees. Now, if you don't have any employees and you're only taking withdrawals, then you have essentially a K-1, I believe, and you're going to have to submit a form 1281. I'd have to double check, but there is a way for let's say partners that do not earn incomes through you don't have any employees, and we have that all on our platform. I just didn't really mention that as much because a majority of our applicants do have employees, but we do have ways where LPs and single member LLCs, multi-member LLCs, sole proprietors, and LLCs that don't have employees, they can all qualify as long as they show a net positive for their tax returns versus a loss. If you show a loss, then you unfortunately won't get anything.
Okay, thank you. Another question, in the event the new deadline in December or December 31st for the extension does not pan out, can applications be submitted on August 8th?
Yes, so I highly recommend you try to submit now. We're not banking on this new legislation. However, it is bipartisan. It is looking to be unanimous, but you know how politics are, right? But yes, please apply up to August 8th. I know that with our lenders, they'll accept until the end of day August 8th, but I wouldn't wait until the last second. I mean, don't try to go get all your tax forms and bring them to the table, then apply. Literally just talk to your CPA or talk to your lender or go to our website and just apply. Like, just immediately talk to them, and then you'll get your tax form as they go along. But just know that if you will need a Schedule C or a 940 or 941 if you have employees.
Okay. And the best website to apply is blueacorn.co, correct?
CO, that's correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure because people get confused. CO versus .com.
For sure, yeah. We couldn't afford the .com. So
Great. So we still have a little time. If you have any other questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. I did receive some private chat questions as well.
Sure.
First one, what is the maximum amount of money I could get approved for?
So the maximum amount of money a small business can get approved for is $10 million. Those are probably some of the businesses you see in the news, like the Ruth Chris's or the Shake Shacks, right? But there is no minimum. That's the beautiful part of this. I mean, we processed a $500 loan, which no bank would have ever imagined processing, but we did it, right? Because everyone matters. So yeah, the maximum is 10 million, but there is no minimum.
Okay, great. Can you explain what are some of the reasons a person may get rejected when applying?
Sure. Number one is the numbers. Let's say, for instance, you have multiple businesses, right? And you're a business owner for a restaurant. You own a holding company as an LLC, and you also pay yourself as a 1099. Some people may mix up their applications and apply as a business, but then submit their Schedule C and try to qualify themselves as with their income being from their 1099. So there might be a mix up in documents. So it's less about disqualification. It's more about, hey, this is the wrong information that you gave us. You need to give us the right information. Now, let's say that your business, has payroll, and that so the amount of money you qualify for, and I completely forgot to put this on the slide, but the amount of money that you qualify for is 2.5 times your payroll for 2 months, the average of 2 months. I'm sorry. Let me back up here. I'm skipping ahead. So let's say that the amount of money that you qualify for is 2.5 times your average monthly payroll if you were in business in 2019. So 12 months of payroll divided by 12 and then times 2.5. Or if you're a new business, they take February and March as months, the 2 months, and it's the average number of those 2 months times 2.5. So what I mean by new business is, let's say you're a new LLC that was formed in January, and you had payroll and you were in business where all of a sudden you shut down or you were on pause. So you can still apply and you can get qualified for that 2.5 times the amount of payroll for you to get the PPP program. Let's say that you were a business that was operating in 2019 and in 2020, right? They will look at your 2019 payroll, get the average monthly payroll for that, and then multiply it by 2.5. So that is the amount of money you'll get from PPP. And what was the question again? I'm sorry. I think I was alluding to the question. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was just what are the reasons why a person may get rejected?
So let's say that so you have the payroll amounts that you qualify for, right? Now, let's say that you have your tax form, and this is borderline fraud, where people just don't understand how they do their payroll or their taxes. They have the tax form, how much they put on the tax form of what they paid out in payroll, but then you also have the proof of that payroll, which is your payroll processing report. Those numbers need to match. If those numbers don't match, then they will tell you, hey, these numbers don't match. You actually are gonna get a lower amount, and they're gonna base it upon your payroll processing report or whatever. You kind of have to dispute which number is the real one. If it's a significant difference, let's say you put like $100,000 on your federal taxes, or I'm sorry, on your payroll processing report, but on your federal taxes you put like $50,000. Then they're gonna go, well, why is there a huge difference here? And they might just disqualify you. But on 1099s or on independent contractors, that's really where the disqualification comes in, because one person might have earned $100,000 in 1 year as an independent contractor, but let's say on their Schedule C 1099, they put that they earned $100,000, but they also have expenses that equivalent to, let's say, $120,000. So they actually posted a loss of $20,000 last year. The requirement amounts on an independent contractor look at your net loss and gain. So technically you would not qualify for PPP because you posted a net loss for that year. If you didn't have any write-offs and you just said, yeah, I earned $100,000 and I didn't have any write-offs, and so my net gain is $100,000, then they'll divide that by 12 and then times it by 2.5, and that's what you will get for your PPP. But a lot of the disqualification comes from just the mix-ups of numbers based upon what you can prove and also what you put on your tax forms.
Okay, great. And I think you kind of touched upon this a little bit, but when does an organization or a company need to pay this back?
Sure. So it's a they've adjusted forgiveness and the terms. I know in the first tranche, let's say someone got their monies on the first round, it's a 3-year turnaround with year 1 being a year where you don't have to pay anything, and then you start paying year 2, and then you can start applying for forgiveness within 8 weeks of getting your loan. And so by year 3 is when you have to go ahead and pay the whole monies back. However, on the new rounds and tranches, they've expanded that to 5 years, and they made forgiveness a lot easier. So it really just depends on when you applied. If you're applying now, it'll be a 5-year term. and let's say that they extend till the December 31st, you may not have to pay it back because they'll automatically put forgiveness on there. So.
Okay. And I think you mentioned the rate of the interest, but can you briefly touch upon that as well?
Sure. So it's a 1% interest rate. I don't know exactly the terms, but I do know it's 1%, and it's not payable until year 2. So there are no payments owed year 1, and the 1% is I don't know if it's compounded or if it's just on the total amount. I'd have to look up that exact term, but I do know that it is 1%.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We have another 10 minutes or so. Just a reminder to everyone, we are still accepting some questions. But Jimmy, I think you also mentioned early on that you were going to give us a little bit more of an explanation on independent contractors. Can you just give us a general overview about that?
Sure. So independent contractors are one of our most popular applicants. These are people that have professional licenses. They're barbers. They do nails. I mean, they work, let's say, maybe for a business, but they get paid as a contractor. So these people are the easiest applicants to push through. They require the least amount of paperwork, and they are their forgiveness is super simple because they're the only sole employee of the business. So it's almost like a auto forgiveness component for these independent contractors, because let's say you get a $10,000 loan as an independent contractor, you can allocate all of that money to payroll because you're paying yourself. You don't really have to prove it as much because you're paying yourself. So independent contractors are our most popular applicant, and a lot of business owners that let's say own the business, but they have a lot of independent contractors. They love to refer independent contractors to us because that kind of gets the employee or contractor off their back, because they're kind of freaking out about not getting paid. So a lot of independent contractors don't even know that they could get money from the government outside of a stimulus check. So that this is a really good program for those independent contractors.
Awesome, thank you. And just to give everyone a little more of an idea, what organizations do you all work with, or businesses or banks to help with PPP loans?
Sure. So one bank that you may know of is Prestamos, which is a subsidiary of Chicanos por la Causa, which, don't mind my Spanish accent or Spanish. I don't know Spanish fluently. So if I said that right, then great. If not, then pardon me. But we work with them, and we work with a few national CDFIs like Community Development Corporation. We work with the Industry. We work with a few other ones, First Home Bank, nationwide. So we have a good amount of lenders on our hands, and actually we're creating our own CDFI as well. We're in the process of doing that, and we will actually be our own lender as well, which will be huge. That means that we control the whole process. And so when you apply through us, you'll literally get an SBA number directly from us, which will be huge. So yeah, we're in the works for doing that. So
That's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. So any other questions from the audience? We'll go ahead and share Jimmy's information along with the recording. If you might have missed something, we'll be sharing with everyone as well. Looks like we have another question that came in. Sole proprietors, may the bills and themselves, is that a problem?
sure. So sole proprietors, I'm assuming it says pay the bills
Yes.
and themselves. So yes, sole proprietors, no, the sole proprietors are great too. They're almost like independent contractors, but let's say they have LLCs or they have all these other stuff, right? If a sole proprietor is applying with employees, then it's just like an LLC. You have to show proof of the wages that you paid out to employees. But if you're a sole proprietor on your own, and you don't have any employees, then you're gonna be treated like an independent contractor. But even with this one, you don't have a 1099, so it's actually easier for you to apply as a sole proprietor, and forgiveness is as simple as a 1099 independent contractor. So, oh, and thank you so much, Yvette.
Yes. All right. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap it up a little early then. If we don't have any other questions, we'll share Jimmy's information and contact details in our post-event email. Thank you again, Jimmy. This was really informative and very timely as well, now that the application again is August 8th, or deadline, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. So thank you so much, and we'll see you all at the next Business Success webinar next week, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.